Fifth grade Excel, lesson 96, learning the distributive property of multiplication and the associative property of multiplication and addition, learning the property of 1 and 0 properties. Now some of these are going to be real easy and some are going to be very difficult. And let me tell you right now that what I'm going to be doing on this lesson, because there's really nothing for you to write on this lesson or very little for you to write, I'm going to be telling you to write little symbols on your page. And I'm not going to write them on the screen, so you're going to need to pay attention the whole way through the lesson and make sure you add those symbols on your page, because we're going to be looking for those tomorrow at school to make sure that you watch the video and that you are paying attention. When you're checking people's homework, make sure you're looking for those symbols on their paper. If they don't have them, then they don't get credit for finishing their homework. So here we go. The distributive property of multiplication means that you can multiply a sum or a difference by multiplying the parts and then adding or subtracting the results. Now that's very confusing, I'm sure, to you, so let's go through it and I'll show you what that all means. This is the hardest part of the lesson, the distributive property. Think about what distributing means. Probably many of you know that when you distribute something, if I were to hand you a stack of papers and say, distribute these to the students, what I'm telling you to do is pass the papers out to people. Give the papers to all the students. And so the distributive property kind of means the same thing. Here we have the number 3 that's being multiplied times 2 plus 1 in parentheses. Rather than doing the 2 plus 1 first, the distributive property says we're going to distribute this 3 to the 2 and then to the 1, and that is going to come out the same as doing the parentheses first. So what this looks like when I distribute it is I distribute the 3 to the 2, that's written right here. Then I distribute the 3 to the 1, that's written right here. There's a plus sign in the middle because there's a plus sign right here in the middle. And 3 times 2, everybody write a 6 on your paper right here. And everybody write a 3 right here. 6 plus 3, and I want you to write equals 9. All right, let's take a look at the old way of doing it. 3 times 2 plus 1, you would have done it this part first. So everybody write a 3 over there. 3 times 3 is 9. What they're showing you here is that when you do it like this, you get 9. And when you use the distributive property, which looks like this, the 3 times the 2, the 3 times the 1, just like I showed you back here. And then this is equal to 6, and that's equal to 3. 6 plus 3 equals 9. So the distributive property, once again, shows you that when you take this number that's being multiplied by something in parentheses, you can distribute it to each number. It's only going to be done with multiplication, not with addition or subtraction or something like that. Only with multiplication. Let's take a look at another example. Distributive property, we're taking the 4 and distributing it to the 7 and the 2. In this case, there's a subtraction, a minus sign between the 7 and the 2. Notice we have a minus sign here. So 4 times 7 is written here, 4 times 2 written here, and we're subtracting. Let's see what happens when we do the problem both ways. First doing the part in parentheses, and then using the distributive property. 4 times 7 minus 2, that's equal to 5. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 7, 28. 4 times 2, 8. 28 minus 8 is still equal to 20. So you can see by using the distributive property, we get the same answer as doing it the old way, which is doing the part in the parentheses first. This can be helpful in calculating products mentally. 5 times 97 can be written as 5 times 100 minus 3, and then 5 times 100 minus 5 times 3. So 500 minus 15 is equal to 485. And this is just showing you that there's a way to do that inside your head. If you want to stop and think about that, look at it again, that might be a good idea. In fact, if you want to stop and look at this whole part of the video again, it might be a good idea. The rest of the lesson is going to be pretty easy. Okay, the associative property of multiplication means that changing the grouping of the factors will not change the product. Associative property, if you associate with someone, that means that you hang out with them. So what we're going to find out is that if we have this problem, 3 times 2 times 4, multiplication in the middle, that if you put the parentheses with the 2 and the 4 grouped, or if you group the 3 and the 2 instead of the 2 and the 4, you're going to get the exact same answer. So let's take a look at how that works. 3 times 2 times 4, 2 times 4 is 8. Everybody write that on your paper. 3 times 8 is equal to 24. So you can see when I'm doing the 2 times 4 first, I get 24. What happens if I do this 3 times 2 first? Well, that's right here in parentheses. That's equal to 6. Everybody write a 6 on your paper. 6 times 4 is 24. All right, at this point in time, I want everybody to write a star right out here after the number 24. Draw a star right there so that we know that you paid attention to the video. It says, this can be helpful in calculating products mentally. Oh, by the way, don't tell the other kids. Make sure you keep that a secret. Only the people that are watching the video will have that. 2 times 5 times 3 can be written 2 times 5 times 3, which is equal to 10 times 3, which is 30. So again, the 5 times 3 being multiplied first, or these two numbers being multiplied first out of the 2 and the 5 and the 3 does not make any difference. We're still going to get 30 either way. 5 times 3 is 15, 2 times 15 is 30, 2 times 5 is 10, 10 times 3 is 30. Either way, we're going to get 30. It doesn't matter how we group them in multiplication. The same property, the associative property, works with addition. It does not work with subtraction and division. I'll show you that in a second. Here's a problem where we're adding 3 numbers together, 7, 2, and 4. Does it matter if I group the 2 and the 4 or the 7 and the 2 together? No. You're going to come out with the same answer either way. If you group the 2 and the 4, you get 13. If you group the 7 and the 2, you get 13. Everybody write 6 right up here. 7 plus 6 is 13. Everybody write a 9 up here. 9 plus 4 is equal to 13. This can be helpful in calculating sums mentally. 7 plus 3 plus 28 can be written as 7 plus 3 plus 28. This one's a little bit harder to do. You have 28 plus 3, 31. 31 plus 7 is 38. But if you add the 7 and 3 first together, you get 10. 10 plus 28 is 38. That's much easier to do in your head, or at least a little bit easier. So you can see this is the associative property of addition. How you group numbers in addition problems doesn't make any difference. Let's look and see if this works with subtraction. Let's say we've got 8 minus 5 minus 2. Okay, does it matter where I put the parentheses on this? 8 minus 5, what if I put them right there? That's equal to 3. 3 minus 2 is equal to 1. What if I take those same 3 numbers and group this part first? 5 minus 2 is 3. 8 minus 3 is equal to 5. So you can see by changing the grouping or the association, I get a completely different answer. So the associative property does not work with subtraction. Does it work with division? Let's take 24 divided by 8 divided by 2. I picked some numbers that can be divided pretty well here. But actually, let me change that 8 so we can actually really do this. Okay, so let's make this a 2. What if we group these two numbers together? 24 divided by 2 is 12. 12 divided by 2 is equal to 6. Well, what if I take the same 3 numbers, 24, 2, and 2, and group these two together first? 2 divided by 2 is 1. 24 divided by 1 equals 24. You can see we get a completely different number when I group the different numbers together. Here I group the 2 and the 2. Here I group the 24 and the 2. So the associative property does not work with division. Same thing with the distributive property as well. So now the last 2 properties that we need to learn. Oh, and before we go any further, I want everybody to put a smiley face up on the top. Actually, change that 0. See that 0 right there, that big fat one right there? Change that into a smiley face for me, okay? Here we go. The property of 1 means that any number multiplied by 1 will have itself as the product. This is kind of like a no-duh thing. 1 times 8 is 8. 14 times 1 is 14. 1 million times 1 is equal to a million. No matter what you multiply by 1, you always get the same number. The 0 property of addition says when you add 0 to any number, the answer or the sum is always itself. 7 plus 0 is 7. 0 plus 23 is 23. 3 million plus 0 is 3 million. Doesn't matter, when you're adding 0, you get the same number that you started with. The 0 property of multiplication means that any number multiplied by 0 will have the 0 as the product or the answer. 9 times 0 is 0. 0 times 356 is 0. 10 million times 0 is 0. And what I'd like you to do is write down here, write the word 0 right there to show that you're paying attention all the way to the end of this lesson video.